Study Skills. Welcome to a new short course titled Study Skills, taken from the book Training Courses by Muteb Alqarni. In this course, we will learn smart study techniques, proper learning steps, effective memorization methods, and other skills. The goal of this course is how to become a successful student, with an emphasis that excellence is not achieved by a magic wand or little effort. Otherwise, you would find many excelling. Excellence is a long process that requires intensive effort and constant perseverance. Therefore, we will divide the course into 3 parts. 1. A part concerned with essential and important habits that create academic excellence. 2. A part focusing on the necessary skills during studying courses. And 3. A part concerned with general and useful tips during exams. Let's get started. We begin with the first part, which is required habits for academic excellence. The most important step towards achieving academic excellence is changing your attitude towards studying, or education in general. How do you view studying? Do you see it as enjoyable or boring, useful or useless? Changing your perspective towards seeking knowledge changes everything and drives you towards learning. But how do you change your perspective? By studying with self-reference, meaning you link the knowledge you're learning to your real life. With every piece of information you receive, ask yourself, how can I use this in my real life? You encounter information about how to calculate the diameter of a circle, so you ask, how can I apply this to a round table in our dining room? This is a process that makes successful students. What will you gain when you change your attitude towards studying and link every piece of knowledge you learn to your real life? You'll become more inclined to seek knowledge, and the first habit of excellence will emerge, which is the habit of focus during lectures. The successful student focuses and pays attention to the teacher's explanations, while the ordinary student struggles to concentrate and follow along. The focus here refers to focusing on new information, understanding the teacher's mindset, question methods, areas of interest, and what they like to raise questions about, and what they don't. Ask yourself, do you follow your teacher with concentration to discover their mindset and question methods before the exam? Focus is common only among excellent students with a positive mindset towards seeking knowledge. When the student changes their mindset towards education, concentration increases. And as concentration increases, note-taking appears, which is the second habit. There are multiple methods for taking notes. One of them is highlighting the most important, and less important information with different colors, a method called the traffic lights method. The method says, highlight the most important information that you must study with green, the color of approval. Highlight less important information with orange, the color of readiness to go, as it may suddenly appear in the test. Highlight less important with red, the color of stopping, so you stop studying it. This way, you study the most important, then the important, and don't get occupied with the less important. When you review the above, you'll find that the lazy student doesn't excel because they don't focus during lectures, don't take notes, and don't know the important from the less important. Another note-taking method is the rephrasing method, which is part of the REAP method, an acronym for 4 steps. 1. Read. 2. Encode. 3. Annotate. And 4. Ponder. Encoding is the intended step here, as rephrasing difficult course vocabulary with your own words makes it easier to understand. Since the teacher rephrases the book's vocabulary, focusing on their words during the lecture will help you in this task. Do you rephrase the book vocabulary? For example, Do you replace the phrase, "biology is an important domain" with, "biology is an important field, area of a study, or a topic," just to understand the meaning of domain? Another note-taking method is raising questions, where the successful student turns every piece of information into a question, so they aren't surprised by similar questions during the exam. When reading in the course, for example, "biology is an important domain because of this and that," they write on top of this information, "Why is biology an important domain?" And not only do they ask and answer, but they also record solution steps. So when the math teacher explains a problem, the successful student writes down every step the teacher takes, then applies them in sequence to solve similar problems. After taking notes, you start reviewing these notes, as notes without reviews are futile. Studies have found that the strongest and safest habit for academic excellence is the habit of spaced studying, or spaced repetition, which means reviewing and studying notes at varying and intermittent intervals. For example, study your notes today, then review them the same night, then review them the next day, then after 6 days, then after a month, and so on intermittently, until the information is solidified. It's a demanding habit only common among the excellent. The usual habit of ordinary students is to study once on the night before the exam, known as cramming. Why is spaced studying, study today, then review after 3 days, and so on, a guaranteed way to excel? The reason is the forgetting curve, a term coined by Hermann Ebbinghaus, which states that information is forgotten if not reviewed at intermittent and spaced intervals. This curve has been studied by other scientists, and its accuracy has been proven. The forgetting curve claims that 65% of information is forgotten after an hour, 66% after 24 hours, and 75% after 6 days, meaning a student who doesn't review their notes after a week only remembers a quarter of them. Therefore, they must review their notes an hour after writing them, then after a day, then after a week, until they are solidified. This allows successful students not to need further study time on exam days. From spaced studying, student gains 2 benefits. 1. Less studying time during exams. And 2. The ability to complete assignments without difficulty. Therefore, we can say that doing homework is the 4th habit in achieving excellence. Assignments are a form of exams, as assignment questions are similar to exam questions. The reason is that the teacher who writes the final exam questions is the same one who writes the weekly assignment questions. In short, whoever knows how to do well in assignments will know how to excel in exams. So ask yourself, do you do your homework yourself, or do you rely on others to do them for you? Remember that whoever helps you with assignments will not help you during exams, so true excellence starts with doing assignments. Now, think with yourself. Do you have a positive mindset towards studying? Do you focus during lectures to understand the teacher's mindset and their area of questions? Do you take notes by highlighting the important points, rephrasing them in your own words, writing questions over important information, underlining answers, and tracking solution steps? Do you complete assignments and review notes at spaced intervals? Although these are all habits of excellence, there is one comprehensive habit that encompasses all of the above. It's the habit of accompanying the high achievers. Yes, befriend a high achiever or several, and you will become one too. The high-achieving friend will teach you how to study, remind you of assignment deadlines, and study with you during exams. Ask yourself, do you have a high-achieving friend? Someone might ask, how can I adopt all these habits to become a high achiever? the process doesn't consume much time. Every action you take inside the classroom is part of your study time. Taking notes, rephrasing, highlighting, and focusing during lectures, all of these tasks are deducted from lecture time, not your personal time. The remaining work outside the classroom focuses on spaced studying, which also doesn't require much time either. It just requires dedicating 1 hour daily to review your notes. This 1 hour yields remarkable results, especially since much of the information requires only quick reviews, as you've already absorbed a lot during focused classroom sessions. Now, let's move on to the second section concerning required skills during studying. We start by saying the following. As exam dates approach, the first crucial step for smart studying is to prepare a dedicated study space called a study niche, provided this space has proper ventilation and sufficient lighting to ensure increased focus. You can create a study-friendly atmosphere within this niche by having the required papers, pens, and other tools, as well as listening to Baroque music or coffee shop noise, both of which have been proven to stimulate studying. The mild disturbance from people's voices in coffee shops increases productivity and enhances focus. Thus, all students go to coffee shops to waste their time. I am just kidding. The question arises, what if you enter your study niche and find appropriate ventilation, lighting, and music, but you lack the desire to study? The reason here is the presence of distractions. Instead of focusing on adding stimulants, such as lighting, ventilation, and music, focus on removing distractions like your phone and TV. Getting rid of what robs your attention is more important than multiplying what enhances it. Therefore, experts advise studying from printed books rather than electronic ones, because electronic books require devices that may distract you with their other applications. And the best way to get rid of distractions is to make them rewards. After every half hour of studying, reward yourself by using your phone. And if you don't study for half an hour, punish yourself by depriving yourself of your phone. After providing the necessary stimuli and removing distracting factors, the second most important step for effective studying is chunking. Yes, divide the material into several units, with each unit requiring 25 minutes of study. As they say, you can't eat the whole elephant, but you can eat it bite by bite. Apply here the Pomodoro technique. After studying the first unit for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break and use your phone. Then move on to the second unit for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break and so on, and after 4 attempts, take a break for half an hour. This is the Pomodoro idea, one of the effective techniques for increasing productivity, as it focuses on one task and doesn't eliminate rest periods entirely. Chunking, according to the Pomodoro technique, is beneficial for 2 reasons. 1, it aligns with an important habit we mentioned earlier about high achievers, which is spaced studying, so you study intermittently. And 2, it aligns with Barbara Oakley's idea that the brain operates in 2 systems, the focused mode and the diffused mode. The idea is that the brain acquires information through focus, but requires a rest period to distribute and link it with previous information. Hence, you'll understand why studying the night before the exam isn't beneficial. The brain doesn't get a rest period to distribute the information as it remains in the focus mode and doesn't get a chance to enter the distribution stage. So, we've learned a key idea stating that having intermittent rest periods is what makes academic excellence, confirming the efficacy of spaced studying. Yes, dividing units is useful, but it becomes more beneficial when done in an interleaved manner. Studying consecutive units of the same material won't be as beneficial as studying units from different subjects separately. So if you have two exams, mathematics and chemistry, studying a unit for 25 minutes of mathematics, then taking a 5-minute break and following it with a unit of chemistry for 25 minutes, then returning to mathematics and chemistry in an alternating manner, will enhance your memory more than finishing mathematics entirely and then starting chemistry separately. The question is, what if you set up the study niche, prepared the stimuli, removed distractions, divided units, took sufficient breaks, and alternated between tasks during studying, but still didn't study? You've done everything here except the required action itself, which is studying. The expected reason here is the fear of starting to study. So what are the most important techniques to overcome this fear? It's the 7-minute technique. Tell yourself you'll study for only 7 minutes, not 25 minutes. If you feel like continuing after the 7 minutes, then continue studying. But if you don't feel like it after the 7 minutes, postpone the experience to the next hour. Try the technique again in the next hour. And if you still don't feel like continuing, postpone it again to the following hour. The benefit of the 7-minute technique here is that you will get about 28 minutes of study time after experiencing it for 4 consecutive hours. 7, 7, 7, 7 equals 28 minutes. Therefore, studying for half an hour is better than not studying at all. However, experts advise during these 7 minutes to focus on the most important information as it is prioritized for review and carries more weight in terms of grades. In short, focus on the fundamental information in the 7 minutes because teachers cannot ignore asking about the basics. Focus on the basics and then diversify the sources of receiving those basics, such as reading it aloud to activate the auditory sense, writing it in various colors to stimulate the visual sense, and writing it by hand to involve a sense of touch. The more senses activated, the more information is reinforced. Diversifying sources of reception enhances information retention, while relying on a single sense has not been scientifically proven. The idea of learning styles, which suggests that there is a visual learner who benefits from visual learning, and an auditory learner who benefits from auditory learning, has been debunked. It has been proven that it is best to diversify all senses and stimulate them as much as possible. Another effective study technique is drawing mind maps. The idea is to write the main topic in the middle of the page and surround it with a circle, then draw lines branching out from that circle and place a smaller topic at the head of each line. Then branch out the smaller topic into even smaller topics, and so on, until the unit to be studied is fully covered and takes a branch format. So, we mentioned that among the study skills are division, alternating, resting, the 7-minute technique, activating all 5 senses, and the use of mind maps. Also among the study skills is rote memorization, also known as rote learning, as memorization is necessary for some subjects. There are specific skills for memorizing information, such as the acronymization method, which involves abbreviating a group of words into a single word, where the letters of that word represent the first letters of each word. For example, if you want to memorize a compound of hydrogen, nitrogen, and helium, abbreviate the first letters of these substances into the word HNH. Each letter in the word HNH will then represent a specific substance. Among the ways of memorization is the method called mind palace. The method suggests memorize 5 large pieces of furniture in your room, arranged from left to right, and number them from 1 to 5. When you memorize the locations of each piece with numbering, you create pockets in your memory to form a visual memory. Create these pockets, and let's assume you need to memorize the following 5 words in order: cat, chair, lamp, alarm clock, cell phone. The method says, place the cat on the first piece of furniture, the chair on the second piece, and so on from left to right. And you will be surprised that you will easily remember those words by retrieving them from your visual memory, which is your furniture image. Another skill of memorization is the method of associating numbers with images, which helps in memorizing long numbers such as phone numbers, for example. The method says, associate the number 1 with something resembling it, for example, a pencil. Associate the number 2 with something resembling it, for example, clothes hanger. And associate the number 3 with an image of a broom. And associate the image of 11 with an image of crutches, not 2 pencils, and so on. Memorize an independent image for each number from 1 to 100. Memorize these images once in your life, and you will benefit from this method throughout, as you will memorize long numbers like 311 by replacing the numbers with the images you have. All of the above are called memory enhancement techniques, mnemonics. So search for more about them on Google and YouTube to acquire a stronger memory. After memorizing and comprehending the information through the previous steps, you have reached the important and fundamental step before entering the test, which is testing yourself. Testing is a fundamental step for effective studying, as confirmed by the testing effect. Anything you haven't tested yourself on with closed eyes, you won't be able to answer during the test. The testing effect explains why students struggle with forgetting information during exams. Forgetting information is evidence that one has not tested oneself, or at least has not tested oneself sufficiently. Yes, self-testing is the basis of academic success. Try writing several tests for yourself and try to answer them without looking at the contents of the book. The question is, what is the benefit of testing? It reveals the weaknesses of the successful student in some information, helping them to reinforce their comprehension of that information early on before the actual exams begin. It also reveals the level of the student and their expected grades in real exams, increasing their study efforts. There are methods for self-testing, such as using flashcards. Flashcards are easy to make by dividing a piece of paper into squares or cards, writing a question on one side of the card and the answer on the other side. The flashcard method is effective because it makes you 1. Review and 2. Test yourself at the same time. Testing, as we said, is a guarantee of success. Although studying with flashcards is an effective method, its effectiveness can be doubled by applying the Leitner system to it. This system, which dates back to the German scientist Sebastian Leitner, suggests the following. Place 3 boxes and number each box from 1 to 3. Then, put all the cards in box 1 and try to answer the questions on the cards. If you answer a card, move it to box number 2. If you don't answer it, put it back in box number 1. After finishing the first round, repeat the method, ensuring that the difficult questions remain in box 1, and you don't get rid of them until you answer them, and move them to box 2. Then answer the question cards in box 2 again to move them to box 3, then answer them a third time before removing them from the boxes. This will solidify your learning of the information under study. Now let us move to the section of general and useful tips during exams, and we will briefly present them here in 10 tips. First tip: ensure sufficient sleep before the exam, as sleeping for 8 hours makes a 25% difference in grades, and studies have found that sufficient sleep before the exam is not enough. You should sleep for 8 hours daily for a week before the exam. The second tip: have a nutritious meal before the exam, as thinking is a process that consumes a lot of energy. Try studying while hungry, and you'll get the idea. However, avoid foods that cause indigestion or frequent visits to the restroom. Since the exam has a set time, be careful not to spend most of the exam time outside the exam hall, like in the restroom, due to unhealthy food. Be careful of unhealthy food. Restrooms may be a lesser punishment. You may spend the whole exam time in hospital. The third tip: adhere to the required dress code during exams, choosing comfortable and appropriate clothing, not tight and uncomfortable ones. Tight clothing makes you feel stressed and limits blood circulation in your body. Also, uncover your head if possible, as ventilating your head helps you more than covering it up. Question: do you remove your cap and headscarf when taking the exam? The fourth tip: start answering the questions, beginning with the easiest ones, as starting with the easiest ones builds your confidence progressively during the exam. When you answer the easiest ones, you'll answer the harder ones. However, pay attention to grade distribution. It's better to start with a difficult question worth 20 marks than to waste your time on easy questions worth 10 marks, claiming to build confidence. The fifth tip: fix your answers and change them if you feel the need for change. Scientists have studied the advice, "do not change your answer repeatedly," and found that it's better to change the answer rather than stick with the first one. In other words, don't hesitate much when changing answers. Change your answer provided you find a valid and sufficient reason to do so. The sixth tip: beware of random choices in true or false or multiple choice questions. Randomness does not yield results. First, try to answer what you know. Then standardize the answers to one choice in the rest of the questions, such as choosing true for the rest of the questions or C for the rest of the options, as this is a more reliable way to gain marks than random choices. The seventh tip: if you answer a question and don't make tangible progress in it, move on to another question, being aware of the passing time of the exam. The eighth tip: breathe deeply if you feel performance weakness, as breathing provides your brain with sufficient oxygen for better performance. The ninth tip: take the entire allotted time for the exam and don't rush to submit your paper. Yes, take your time to make sure you answer each question. After confirming, try to utilize your time to memorize the questions asked and then write them on an external sheet as soon as you leave the room, as these questions may be repeated in the final exam if they are midterm exam questions. And finally, accept your mistakes marked by you, teacher, as mistakes clarify areas of weakness that need intensive improvement. Now, we reach the conclusion of the Study Skills course. We have learned a lot in this course, and the best thing to remind ourselves of is the importance of changing our perspective on learning, focusing during lectures, taking notes, and associating with successful peers, and most importantly, spaced repetition, as reviewing at intervals works wonders. We also learned effective study skills, including task division into units, emphasizing the importance of taking breaks between unit studies, as well as some memorization techniques. Most importantly of all, self-testing. So let's say, he who does not test himself does not excel. Self-testing is the hidden cause behind all success. This training course, Study Skills, is taken from the book Training Courses by Muteb Alqarni.